It could really be the girl next door. I think a lot of times we do associate trafficking with homeless people or runaway youth, but that's not always the case. There are cases where we see someone from a perfect family that was living at a beach house and met this guy, fell in love, and became a victim. I mean, there are those stories, and it's not just this one set person.
95% of the cases I had was from girls that were born and raised in the United States. I'll say about 60 to 75 of them right here from our state of Florida.
It doesn't have to cross county lines, it doesn't have to cross international waters, it doesn't have to do any of that. If someone's using fraud, force, or coercion to make you do something that you don't want to do, that's human trafficking.
It's a simple notion, the right to pursue happiness. It's bestowed upon all of us by our Constitution. Every citizen of this country has the right to pursue it. And I believe that it is incumbent upon us as citizens of this nation, as Americans, to bestow that right upon others, upon each other, and upon the rest of the world. But the right to pursue happiness for so many is stripped away. It's raped. It's abused. It's taken by force, fraud, or coercion. It is sold for the momentary happiness of another.
Today, we're going to talk about a very real and serious problem: human trafficking. Human trafficking is when someone is recruited, hidden, or transported against their will for the purpose of forced labor, involuntary servitude, slavery, or for a commercial sex act. You can think about it like modern-day slavery. Human traffickers are smart and know how to lure their victims in and then trap them in their unsafe and unfair situation. A job or an intimate relationship may start out consensual, but over time, things spiral out of control. When you think of human trafficking, you may think it's a problem in an underdeveloped country or on the other side of the world. But the reality is, human trafficking is a global problem that occurs in every country. It happens all across the United States, here in your state, and even in your own community. Because this is such a serious problem, I want you to understand the ways human traffickers trick teenagers and trap them into involuntary servitude or slavery. I want you to know how to protect yourself and your friends. If you or someone you know is in a dangerous situation, I want you to know how to get help. It is so important to understand that human trafficking can happen to anyone. Just like when we talked about sexual abuse, we discussed how anyone can be a victim and anyone can be an abuser, but that there are circumstances that could make someone more vulnerable to abuse. It's the same with human trafficking. It can happen to anyone, but there are some conditions that can increase your risk. Traffickers may use a variety of false promises to convince teenagers that they may get a new job making a lot of money. They may offer a safe and caring place to live, a new relationship, or a new and exciting adventure. But the reality is, these are just lies. The trafficker is actually planning to use the victim for services of their own financial gain. The trafficker considers the victim in a way to make money. To protect yourself and others, you need to know what can make someone more vulnerable to human traffickers.
The numbers of trafficking in Florida are scary. Florida is number 3 in the nation for human trafficking cases, just behind California and New York. With the tourism industry, that brings in sex trafficking, and it also brings in domestic servitude and labor trafficking. And then with our agricultural industry and our large amount of migrant farm workers, that brings in the chance for labor trafficking as well.
Human trafficking is on the rise. The Department of Justice estimates that it's second only to the drug trade and could potentially overtake the drug trade at any point. New studies are coming out that show that more and more it is U.S. citizens here in the United States. It's what we call our community kids that are being trafficked.
We need to start changing culture. When we hear the word prostitute, culturally we hear a person making a choice, not a victim. And I'm not the one to say that there aren't people making choices. But at the end of the day, you have a person that's making a choice to prostitute and you have a person not. How can you tell the difference? You can't, because you know why? We don't get to see the force, fraud, or coercion in the brain of the person that's not making a choice to do that.
There are suspects out there, predators out there, that are doing this every waking moment of their lives. Not just 40 hours, not just 60 hours. This is what drives them.
Human trafficking is not just specifically to one particular group. It's not one gender, it's not one race, one ethnicity. Anybody can be a victim of human trafficking. A boy can be a victim of human trafficking. And it's important for them to understand the signs and recognize what is out there in order not to fall prey to such.
Traffickers have become very good at identifying a particular vulnerability that they can exploit. They can learn about somebody's hopes and dreams and desires, and then they can lie to them and promise them all of these things.
With trauma bonding, it's a fluctuation between abuse and love. So for a child to go through trauma bonds, it becomes very confusing. And so what ends up happening is that the child is then addicted to that relationship.
They might look like someone's normal. If you're female, you see an attractive boy that talks in a way that you like.
Someone talks to you and tells you how pretty you are. Have you ever thought about modeling? You should be a model. I could take pictures, we can do headshots, and why don't you come with me and we're gonna set this up. It may not be initially, it's a process. The grooming is slow and methodical, but then they lure you in, and then once they have you, it's not very long after that they start seeing adult men for sex, and they are either brutalized or they are controlled with drugs and they are kept, or they are transported out of the state.
And I think that was really the hardest part, is being told, your family is going to die, if you try to defend yourself, or you're just gonna go to jail if you try to escape, or you're just this nasty person. That abuse hurt a lot. But that combined with the rape and the beatings and the being hungry and not taking a shower and just literally laying there.
We've seen the boyfriend grooming, which is the male that comes in and does that Romeo and Juliet kind of relationship where they buy them things, they tell them they're beautiful, they give them a brand new cell phone, they fix their hair, they fix their nails, they buy them new clothes. That is seen as a sign of love from these minors, and what we really start to learn is that the trafficker is actually creating a product that is sellable to those that are willing to buy.
They use things like blackmail to keep the victim under their control. So for example, in a case of sex trafficking, maybe the trafficker had forced the victim into the production of pornography, either video or taking pictures. That video or pictures now become blackmail to use against the victim.
If you're ever in that situation where you meet someone and all of a sudden they're trying to control who you meet, who you hang out with, red lights should be flashing on. Because if I like you, I want to know who your friends are. I'm not trying to isolate you. I want to meet your parents. I'm not trying to stay away. When people are trying to control you and put you in a place to isolate you from your friends, not let you talk to who you want to or be who you want to be, red lights all day long. If you're a friend and witnessing another friend go through that, they better tell someone.
Social media is the #1 way of recruiting these younger victims, be it Facebook, be it Snapchat, Instagram, you name it, traffickers are on it. It's just the easiest way just because there's accessibility, #1, and #2, they can see you. And they also have that familiarity where they become friends with your friends and you think, oh, it's safe.
A really
important thing that's going around right now that's being identified is the Snapchat maps, where traffickers are actually adding younger individuals on Snapchat and then locating where they are to kidnap them or even just monitor them and start grooming. So maybe sending out a man to go flirt with a younger woman. It can happen in malls. You could be walking through a mall and someone comes up with a modeling contract and gives you a location to meet them at.
Know who you're talking to on your phone, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on the internet. Know who you're talking to. We have case after case after case of perpetrators and predators who are posing as 14, 15-year-old girls who befriend another girl.
Something as inoffensive as a text message could cause your life to change. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to tell you that the boogeyman is outside the door. I'm telling you there's a great chance, and if you answer something from someone that is unknown, that is the potential there that you might be talking to a trafficker. They spend their entire time trying to find new product, and that product is you.
The other thing that I would really encourage young people is to have a healthy relationship with a trusted adult. We always encourage them to have 3 trusted adults in their life. And that could be a parent, it could not be a parent. But there needs to be individuals that these young people feel comfortable talking to, telling about their life, so that if things do get out of control, if they do find themselves in a bad situation, they know that they can go to this person, tell them what's going on, and they will be able to get help without being judged.
The only way we can stop this from happening is for people to tell. They have to reach out, whether it is to a friend, whether it is to a teacher, a counselor. I know law enforcement can be scary, but we have some amazing people in law enforcement who will listen and will believe you. And so taking that step and telling someone, calling the national hotline, calling 911, just reach out to someone and let them know.
If you're ever in that situation and you can't get out and you tell a friend, trust me, you want your friend to tell somebody. Nobody wants to live like that.
Bad choices don't make who we are. And even if we do make what we might consider a bad choice, it doesn't give other people the right to take advantage of us or to use us to make money for their own good. There is always help and there is always hope.
If you've made a mistake, you're young. That's when you're supposed to make mistakes. But don't let that define you for the rest of your life. If you made that mistake, reach out to a parent, reach out to a guardian, reach out to law enforcement. Break that trap.
When you're ready to come forward and say, you know what, I'm going to stop this guy. It's not me as a law enforcement officer, it's you as a person. I am going to stop this person from doing it again. The power you're going to feel is incredible.
It's not easy to come clean and to say this is what's happening to me and to let people know. But just know that there's people out there that will listen and that there's people out there that will help. And most importantly, you're not alone and we're in this fight together.
If you are a victim, there is an absolute way to get out. There's an absolute way that you can stop this process. Become the survivor. Go from victim to survivor. And what you can do is by asking someone for help, there are so many services in place to help you get out of that. There are services for shelter if needed, services to actually help you psychologically, medically, whatever needs you have.
You may feel guilty, but these are experiences that have happened to you. It's not who you are. It's what you're experiencing or have experienced. But who you are, you need help to discover that. You need adults in your life that can help you understand how valuable you are and who you can become. And that's really important. And I think that if you're in a situation where you need help, you've got to get the courage to tell someone so that you can get the help you deserve.
Human trafficking is a real problem. You or someone you know may be at risk. So it's important to know the warning signs of trafficking and tactics used by human traffickers. You now know that traffickers form relationships and use false promises to convince teenagers that they have a great job, a wonderful place to live, a new relationship, or some exciting new adventure. Many times, traffickers use drugs to manipulate and use teenagers. You need to protect yourself and others from being vulnerable to these tricks. If you or someone you know is in an unsafe situation, you must tell a trusted adult to get the help that you need. You can also get help from the National Human Trafficking Resource Center hotline at 888-3737-888 or text HELP to 233-733.